Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining. All of you I've met through Bigger Pockets other than Derek, just met him randomly off the street. So I want to thank you all for coming. Second timers, thanks again for returning. Newcomers, it was really good to meet all of you on Bigger Pockets, and I appreciate you all coming out. I'm really hoping that this session is a way for all of us to connect, be a resource for one another, kind of bounce ideas off one another. So we have about 10 people signed up. There's about seven of you now. I have the topics that you proposed during registration. So we're going to go through each one of them throughout the hour that we have here. I do want to say before we get started that, again, this video is recorded. Please mute yourself when if you're not speaking. And at the same time, jump in with any questions or comments you may have throughout the process. So to get started, I just want to do quick introductions. We're going to probably go around the circle here. I will be happy to start, and then happy to pass it over to Julio next, Miguel, Gerald, Derek, Janet, and Giangelo. So my name is Willie Marquez. Thank you all for joining. Born and raised in Stockton, California. Most of my real estate investments are here in Stockton. I focus on buy and hold investments, but I'm slowly progressing into doing out of state. In addition to that, I'm really focused on getting this network up and running, trying to grow it as big as possible. And one of the side projects that I'm actually working on right now is building my mobile app, which is the rental property dashboard, which I linked on the website. It's kind of a resource for if you're a buy and hold investor and you want to manage your own properties and stay on top of your finances. So that's a bit about me. I'm here for you as a resource. Like I mentioned, I do invest in buy and hold rental properties here. I don't really do much of fix and flips or any of those quick transactions. I'm definitely looking for it for the long term. So I want to switch it over to Julio. Julio, if you don't mind giving a quick introduction of yourself.
Yeah, no problem. Hey guys, my name is Julio Garcia. I've been living here in the Valley, I don't know, maybe for about 3 years now. I closed on a duplex in Riverbank, moving on Saturday, actually. It sucks that it's really hot, but we got to get out of this place and move into there. I'm interested in buy and hold, long-term, multifamilies. I work in Stockton. That's how I'm getting connected with the group, so I can kind of get to know the area, you know, contractors, things like that. I'm interested in house hacking, and I'm interested in networking, guys. I don't know that much, but I'm willing to learn.
Awesome. That's how we all get started. Thanks, Julio. Miguel, if you don't mind giving a quick intro, and then Gerald, if you don't mind coming up next.
Sure. My name is Miguel Garcia, born and raised Oakland, California. Moved out to Stockton probably about 5 years ago. My wife is born and raised in Stockton, so she's a lifelong person here. Investing, I started investing probably about 2017, but just started to really get more involved in it. So in Stockton area, I've done a couple flips. I actually am doing a flip right now in South Stockton, and in escrow on another property in South Stockton. Do have some buy and hold properties. I just complete, well, I wouldn't say actually I did just complete the burr on a property in Chattanooga, Tennessee. However, due to COVID, didn't go as planned, but I still got it completed. Also have another buy and hold property in Cleveland, Tennessee. So not really interested in buy and holds as much in California just because of the high prices for everything. I'm more looking at out of state on my buy and hold, but looking to do more business out here in Stockton. So it's a booming area. See a lot of opportunity.
That's awesome, Miguel. A lot of out-of-state experience. I love that you're going to contribute to the conversation here. We can switch it up to Gerald and then Janet next.
Hey everyone, my name is Gerald. I live here in Stockton. I was born in the Bay. I got into real estate back in 2017, but didn't land on my first property until last year. I'd like to get more into wholesale, fix and flip, buy and holds, whatever I can get into, and kind of want to try everything and see what excites me more. And I like to build my portfolio. What I like to get out of this is just to network and pick at everyone's brain and see what ideas we can all share together.
Awesome. Thanks, Gerald. Janet, and then Derek next.
Hi. So my name's Janet. I'm a newbie. My daughter is a real estate agent. She's extremely busy right now. I'm looking, my husband wanted to start fix and flipping about 10 years ago, and I was hesitant and, kind of unknown territory. But we're ready to do this now. My son's a painter. He does side jobs all the time, and he's in college. My husband can build almost anything except anything to do with electricity. He doesn't do anything like that. We're originally from the Bay Area. He's from Oakland. I'm from the Richmond area. We moved to Stockton back in 2004, and I'll tell you, Stockton has been good to us. I'm very interested in out-of-state flipping and maybe some buy and holds. But I think we, need to get our feet wet in our own backyard. I know that David Green has been reaching out to me a lot through emails and stuff, and I talked to his associate Eden today, and we'll see what happens. I guess he has a whole team that kind of assists you with everything. When you kind of try to go into this, I have a full-time job, and when I try to start going into this researching and get all the triggers and stuff and all the emails and stuff, it's a little bit overwhelming, to be honest with you. So thank you for having me. I'm here to learn, and I am very teachable.
Awesome. Thanks, Janet, for coming. Derek, if you don't mind giving an introduction, and then we'll finish that up with Giangelo.
Sure. Hey, guys. Good to be here. I remember a few faces here. Obviously, Willie, thanks for putting this together. And then I think I remember Gerald. So, Gerald, good to see you, man. Good to see you again. My name is Derek Clifford. I'm an out-of-state real estate investor. I currently have about 14 properties in Indianapolis, one in Cleveland, an 18-unit multiplex as well in Indianapolis. And I just finished my first book right here, Part-Time Real Estate Investing for Full-Time Professionals. You can get it on Amazon. I am a real estate multifamily syndicator as well. So I work a full-time job. I work for PG&E as a project manager. And on the side, I raise capital and find apartment complexes, raise capital for it, and collect the capital, use it as a down payment for the apartment complex and for the closing costs. And just run apartment buildings. I'm in contract, or at least I'm looking to be in contract pretty soon on a 60 unit in Indianapolis, and just trying to expand my holdings.
Awesome. Thanks, Derek, for coming back. And Janet, that actually sounds like a pretty good resource for you, since you mentioned you work full time. So definitely check that out. Giangelo, if you don't mind giving an introduction, hopefully you're connected to audio. There you go.
Yeah, I'm based out of the Bay Area, and I wanted to join this this webinar because I do flips in the Stockton, San Joaquin County area. I didn't start too long ago. It was in 2018, and I was just kind of, like falling on my face, still trying to figure everything out. I've done 5 deals so far, and I flipped both in San Joaquin County and in the Bay Area. So for me, what I want to learn is, learn more about what other people are doing out of state. I don't have any rentals or anything like that. So it'd be good as the next step as I'm starting to earn more money, because my first flips, they're really bad. And one of them, I earned $500 on it. I also do property management on the side with just 13 properties in the Bay Area with Airbnb clients. And that's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Giangelo. I appreciate you coming. I know I reached out to you on Bigger Pockets, and hopefully can get a lot from this conversation. So with everybody's registration, we actually got some ideas and some topics that you wanted to cover. So I want to make sure we hit on all of those. So I definitely want to start with both Gerald and Giangelo's topics that they mentioned. So I'm hoping Gerald and Giangelo, you can kind of talk more about what you're looking for. But you both kind of had similar topics where you wanted to learn more about both finding deals and direct mail marketing. So Gerald and Giangelo, kind of want to pick your brain about like what you were looking for, kind of what topics you'd love to discuss relating to direct mail marketing and finding deals.
Yeah, so I'd like to know if any one of you guys do any kind of aggressive actions towards, finding deals. I know that there's cold calling, starting to mail campaigns, and even email marketing. Um, what ways other than just, having an agent shoot you guys deals? What do you guys do is my question.
Great. Thanks, Gerald. And Giangelo, if you want to follow up with that, kind of what were you looking for when you submitted this topic during registration?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out just what other investors were doing in San Joaquin County, because I noticed other investors, they were getting multiple properties per month. Like I talked to one guy, he was getting like 7 per month in the Valley. So I was wondering what they were, other investors were doing, like what techniques they were doing to get that amount.
Awesome. Thank you both. So happy to open up the discussion. Julio, I saw your mic come off of mute. So if there's something you wanted to share, but yeah, just feel free to chime in here with your guys' thoughts and questions as it relates to this topic about direct mail marketing and finding deals.
So I haven't done direct mail marketing. That's something that I'm really interested in, but I have done driving for dollars. That's kind of how I found the deal that I recently closed on, the duplex. I just drove around and just kind of kept an eye out for a property that I liked, the area, and then went about it like that. Driving for dollars has really been really helpful to me because it's made me, it's here in Modesto more specifically, it's made me kind of see what the area is like, kind of how the pricing that they're listing it at relates to the area, because I'm a buy and hold guy. So I'm not going to rent something for $1,000 in a $500 neighborhood, that doesn't really make sense. So that's just something that's been really beneficial to me, getting me kind of what's up with the area. I started doing that in Stockton. I kind of noticed that the south side's a little rough around the 4, things like that. So it's just kind of that learning curve that I've really done with driving for dollars.
Did you knock on their doors? Did you pull information from the public records, or what did you do? Did you?
Oh no, not even that advanced. Not even that advanced to look for it. More so just going to scope out the property and more of the neighborhood. That's kind of where I draw the line.
Okay. Were there?
Yeah, I had.
Sure.
Say it again.
Were there occupants in there? Like, how did you get that conversation going with the owner?
Some of them did. I actually, in order to find the property that I did right now, I had a realtor. So I reached out to my realtor and I said, hey, go check this property out, talk to their realtor, see what's up. And that's how we got that conversation going.
Okay. It was for sale then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Miguel, I saw you come off of mute. Is there something you wanted to add here?
Yeah. So what I do, I've done the driver for dollars, but I use Property Shark to get the owner's information, and it's just easier. I don't feel like going to the courthouse and things of that nature. But I've done that. I have a couple connects at the title company that, I'll ask them for different leads, and they'll send me a bunch of leads depending on what the criteria is. I might search for out-of-state owners, in San Joaquin County or whatever, or recently divorced, recently widowed, and then they'll send me a file and I'll do a direct mail campaign. But I have 2 very aggressive wholesalers in the Stockton area that send me a ton of deals. So I let them do the work. I mean, of course, they charge a fee, but usually the fee is worth their effort. So I want to say on this last property I got that I'm in construction phase with now, I think I paid like a $2,500 fee to them, but the average fee is about $5,000 that I pay, but they're very aggressive and they come up with tons of deals all over. I got one guy, he comes up with deals in Stockton, the Bay Area. I mean, he just sent me some deals in Alabama. So he's always coming up with deals. The more you get out there and let people know that you're an investor, the better. The more people you talk to, you can, advertise. I even use the Nextdoor app. I advertise that I'm an investor in the Nextdoor app, letting people know I'm trying to help revitalize our neighborhood. And just the deals come,
I'm about to start my campaign sometime soon, and if I get something going and I find something good for you, Miguel, I'll give you a call, man. So I have to grab that
Absolutely.
contact. there.
Absolutely. You got what wholesalers do. I have no problem with paying the wholesale fee because I don't have the time. I work full time as well, and I run a business full time, and I invest full time. So I don't have the time to really get out there and do as much as I would like to. So I don't have a problem paying somebody a fee for wholesale properties.
Yeah, so I've got a friend who is doing this from California, but he does wholesale. He does flips and wholetailing. Like he'll basically find a property and then he'll sell it to a wholesaler. And he just finds properties for really cheap. And the way he does it is with a website. So he does SEO, search engine optimization. I think he started with like one of the carrot investor carrot sites that you can sign up for. That's kind of like an investor, like a lead generation tool in a box. And I think he went a little bit more sophisticated past that, but that's one option you can do too if you don't want to have like a team. But I think you'll have to pay for it, just like you will with a mail marketing campaign. But it's one way to go also. A lot of people are searching online nowadays.
With that wholesaling, do they also get that? Do they also get on contract and sell the contract as a wholesaler would?
Yeah, I mean they get on paper with the original seller, and then the buyer is the wholesaler, so they make their spread that way. It's like you're wholesaling to a wholesaler.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to add, I think Miguel's concept of wholesaling and kind of the connection that he has is super interesting, because if you kind of do a Google search for a wholesaler online, it's almost as if you're buying something on the open market, because those wholesalers that you find just by Googling Stockton wholesale or Sacramento wholesale, they have a network of probably 200 to 300 people. So it's almost like shopping in the open market. I've done my fair share of sending out both emails and physical letters. In terms of the emails, I almost never get a response. In terms of the letters, I do send them to properties that I think is interesting, but one, either nobody picks up that mail, or two, it goes to the tenant and not the owner. Even though you might put the owner's name, the tenant's not super great at getting the letter to the property owner, and they might just trash it just because they're not the owner themselves. But some interesting tactics that I've done, kind of similar to Miguel, I've done Property Shark to find a property I'm super interested in. I found the owner. I was able to give her a call just by Googling her name and asked her if she was interested in selling. Unfortunately, she wasn't, but it really showed me that going that route actually does work, that you're able to find a contact and you're able to get somebody on the phone who actually answers the phone. Some other kind of unique strategies that I've been trying out is, when I am driving around a neighborhood, I try to look for U-Haul trucks to see if like somebody is moving out. And so I'll talk to the tenant who is moving out and say, hey, I'm interested in this home. Would you be able to tell me who the landlord is or the property owner is? And they'll give like the phone number so that you can try to reach the either the landlord or the property owner. And when you get them on the phone, kind of just say, hey, I know you're having this for rent, but what about, would you consider selling it? I've done that a couple times. Unfortunately, it wasn't successful, but I was able to get the owner of the property on the phone. And some other unique strategies that I'm kind of doing right now. One is I do property manage my own properties. So I do list them on Zillow. I do list them on kind of those popular websites. When I do look at the applications of the tenants who want to apply, they'll often list the reason that they're leaving. And one of the reasons they say is that the owner is preparing to list the house for sale. And I was actually able to do that today. I hopped on the phone with somebody who was the owner of a property that a tenant was moving out of, and said, hey, would you be willing to sell this house to me directly so that you don't have to pay a commission to the realtor for buying and selling? And they're going to be taking a look at like running the numbers and seeing if it makes sense for them to do it, but they sound really intrigued. And then the last tactic that's actually super interesting for me, and I actually talked to Derek about this through email, is that I saw on Instagram somebody post an image of a deal that they got off market from a realtor. And I thought it was super interesting because it was the market that I wanted to invest in. So I sent a DM to that person saying, hey, could you put me in contact with your realtor? I'd love to purchase a home off market as well. And they were happy to send me like the email address of that real estate agent. So there's a lot of unique ways and a lot of indirect ways of getting information and getting to the property owner. All of those were really helpful for me to get in touch with the property owner, although whether that means I was successful or actually purchasing or not, that's to be determined, but I was being able to get on the phone with them is a huge first step there.
I have a question really quick. So how do you find a person that does wholesaling on property? How do you find that?
Yeah, for me, I'll let Miguel probably. He seems like he has a really great network here. For me, it's just Google searching. I found a few of those that way. I haven't bought any through that, but Miguel, if there's anything you want to add here, that'd be great.
I've actually found some via Bigger Pockets. I found them via realtors, escrow officers. The escrow people are really good with that because they deal with, usually a wholesaler is going to primarily use one escrow agent, and because they get a binder created and they'll get discounts on it. So the escrow agents is probably the best way to get some wholesaler connections. And with that, you're going to get, the information on how many deals is this guy closing. Are they really out there active, or are they just part-time? Because, they're going to know how many transactions this guy is doing a month or year or whatever. So that's how I've got I got my one best one was through an escrow agent. And then I got a secondary one. Actually, I got the secondary one through Craigslist. Now that I think about it, I found one on Craigslist, and she's really good. Actually, she just sent me a deal, a commercial property in South Stockton today. So it comes with a liquor license. So I'm actually looking into that one now. So.
Nice. That's really cool, Miguel. I know I've listened to Bigger Pockets podcast where they mention, if you see a property for rent, potentially they may be interested in selling it. So that's always an option. That kind of reminds me of something I did on Craigslist as well, going that way. Cool. So I want to make sure we have enough time for all the other topics that were listed during registration. So I'm going to switch it over to Janet's topic on fix and flips, but I want to take a second to make sure we have Madhu introduce himself to the group. So Madhu, welcome again. It's good to see you. If you
Hey guys.
do a quick intro, that'd be great.
Hey, thank you. Hey guys. Hey Willie and Derek. Gerald, and I think I see. Hey, congrats to Derek. By the way, super book, and we liked it. And all the best.
Thank you.
If anybody did not read, go ahead and read Derek's book. It's really awesome book.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So yes, I am second time here. I'm interested, either in a BRRRR or buy and hold. Especially in low cost areas, not in the Bay Area, like in Stockton or out of state, like Huntsville, Alabama, places like that. But I'm not doing seriously, but I'm focusing on my job right now. I'm looking for the job, so I'm not doing so much into the real estate side now. But I do want to, when we have time, I wanted to talk about the impact of this pandemic on the Bay Area, because today also I hear the news that a lot of high-paying jobs are people who have high-paying jobs are leaving the Bay Area to low-cost areas and working remotely. I think it's going to change the equation in the Bay Area, and I think I just wanted to discuss how would it impact us.
Awesome. Thanks, Madhu. I do have that as a topic that we'll cover in the next topic, but thank you again for joining. I definitely want to make sure we hit on that topic. So as we transition to topic 2, so Janet, I saw when you registered that you wanted to learn more about fix and flips. So I wanted to give you the floor to kind of give us more insight into what information you'd love to hear more about in regards to fix and flips.
Well, thank you, Willie. I think the main thing is I have to find the deal. You know what I mean? It's very competitive out here. There's not like a lot of houses I don't see, or duplexes. And then I've kind of, been playing around with the calculators and stuff on Bigger Pockets. And I mean, I don't really know what I'm doing. And then you got to find someone with the comps and all of this. So I know I have the capability to be determined to do it. I know I have the finances to do it. Like I said, my husband does flooring. And I mean, we, like me and my husband and my son-in-law can actually get in there and do the work. So I know that wouldn't, cost us a lot. Have somebody that does like almost everything. And then I have put a couple bids on different things in Stockton, and it's just very competitive, and I'm new. So, and what I want to avoid is getting into, there was someone that said that on their first flip, they only made $500. But number one, whoever that was, hear ye, you made $500, but the experience, you're never going to forget, right? So I want that experience. I want that hands-on. I want to tear down a wall. I want to, you know what I'm saying? Because if I can do it one time, I'm going to know, hey, I love this or I hate it. You know what I mean? And so I just want to get my feet wet. I want to really just, and see if my husband and me and my son work really well together. And then, and I eventually want to do some buy and holds and stuff. Bottom line is I want opportunities for me and my family, and real estate is one of the avenues that I will be able to obtain that, I believe. But I'm new, and it kind of just feels overwhelming, and I'm just like, okay, and I don't know. I'm trying to figure it all out. But I want to bust up some walls.
You can invite me over when you get that first one. I'd love to bust them up with you. So I definitely want to open the floor. I think, so the idea of fix and flip, it's kind of out of my wheelhouse. I've never actually done it before. So I definitely want to lean into the network that we have here. I know, Giangelo, you mentioned you have a lot of some experience you started in the last couple of years doing this. Would love to hear your thoughts on just getting started and going down that path, and anybody else who also has a fix and flip experience.
Yeah, I could say what my experience was. When it comes to finding the deals, what I did was my first deal was given to me by referral, and it was by someone who was flipping houses, and then he wholesaled me the property, and then he basically held me through my first flip. And he was a real estate agent in Stockton, and his wife was working in San Francisco because she was trying to transition to the San Francisco market. So I was lucky there. So and in the next 2-3 flips, or actually he'll still like go out there and then explain to me, hey, this is what you did wrong, this is what you did right. Because it's a little hard for me to like go back and forth from the Bay Area, and also be there all the time to see what the contractors are doing. And some of the difficulties that I had was just dealing with contractors. The one where I made 500, actually, now that I think of it, I probably went negative because once the tax bills come, that probably made me negative. And on that deal, I think I spent $70,000 on that one on construction, but it should have been 40,000. I think I do have now I have a little bit more education through Fortune Builders. So now like I have to do the Fortune Builder system, and that helps a lot more. I notice if I'm not doing it, I'm pretty much just messing up. But yeah, when it comes to flipping, I think construction is super important. From what I'm learning is
Fortune building.
Yeah, for Fortune Builders, what I'm learning is that I should always either have a GC, or I'll have a GC and I'll sub out the plumber and the electrician. And those are two ways. If I'm in the Bay Area, I try to sub out the plumber and electrician because I want to make sure that they're licensed and that I don't get sued And but in Stockton, I try to just have a GC. From when I watch my mentor, what he does is he'll get guys that are working on hourly pay, and then he'll just get them to work, and then he'll pay really low, like $15 an hour, and then they'll take care of the simple stuff, and then he'll try to find someone who's not licensed to work on the property. The differences I noticed between Stockton and the Bay Area, just from my experience, was just the properties that I'm buying in Stockton, they're usually in Country Club, Victory Park. I have bought one in near Hammer Lane and Pilgrim. They didn't have permits. I don't know if the other investors do that, but none of them are permitted, and they're mostly cosmetic. But if there was like electrical or plumbing issues, the handyman would still deal with it, or I think only have one time at a GC or two times at a GC. But I noticed they're not licensed. But in the Bay Area, the ones that I've been hiring, they're just basically all licensed, but they all cost way more compared to Stockton.
So Giangela, quick question out of my curiosity. How helpful was having that mentor in kind of getting your first steps into fix and flip, and how'd you find that mentor actually?
Oh, so I found him through my coworker, who is the wife of the mentor. And yeah, it was super helpful. Especially, I have a new mentor in the Bay Area. She's helping me, and it's so helpful because they're a lot more experienced, and there's just things that I just don't know, or there's things that I might lack in skill. Like, for example, just getting the bids and like how to ask it, and just watching them. And then the one I have one in Corte Madera, and that one I just signed an offer right now, and on that property I would have just dropped dead, I think, if I didn't have the JV partner who's my mentor, and I gave her 60% for that. So yeah, having mentors, I think, or for me, some people might not need a mentor, but for me it's very, very important.
Yeah, that sounds like a great first step, potentially, Janet, if you do go down that track of finding somebody who you might know. I know you said your daughter works in real estate. Potentially, maybe she might have a network or a contact to get started, to where you can kind of just shadow them and kind of pick their brain while they're going through the process. Cool. Anybody else want to chime in a little bit if they have some fix and flip experience, kind of how you got started, or kind of advice to Janet or the rest of the team on getting started here?
I got some fix and flip experience, and for me, it was a lot of analysis before I pulled the trigger. So I was analyzing deals constantly, or using the calculator on Bigger Pockets, and then I got a good friend that was heavily invested in Oakland in the Bay Area that I would reach out to and just throw questions at him, and then finally pulled the trigger on my first deal. Excuse me, I got a bunch of kids at the house right now, but and then my first deal, I probably made similar $500 profit. It wasn't much. But we opened up the walls on the property and found a whole bunch of stuff we had to do. So it was a learning experience. And like somebody said that, paying for that was just the experience enough. It was tremendous. But I didn't do my next flip for probably about another year and a half. After that, I got into some buy and holds. And then I just recently got back into the flips out here in Stockton, probably about a year and a half ago. But just the biggest things I would say is just continue to analyze the deals until you are very comfortable with running numbers. Because if you're not comfortable running numbers, you're going to make some mistakes, and some of these mistakes could be very costly mistakes, and you can end up losing a lot of money doing that. So get to the point where you're comfortable with the numbers, but don't get to the point where you're afraid to make a deal. You have to trust your analyzation and your numbers and pull the trigger and do a deal. And like one other person was saying, yes, contractors out here are very hard to, good ones are very hard to come by. And you'll find that a lot of real estate investors will not give up their contractors. They will not give you that contact because they don't want their contractor to be working on your project when they could be working on their projects. So once you do find a good contractor, stick with them. Some good contractors will cost more than the average person, but if you get what you pay for, you choose the cheapest guy, you're going to get the cheapest quality, and he might run away with your deal. Or I just recently had a learning experience with somebody that I partnered up with, going through a deal, and he's a contractor, and he's actually a very big contractor. He just did the bank on Pacific Ave in Stockton, and we partnered up on the deal, but he was trying to keep more of the money, and he was trying to do a lot of the work himself, and he ran out of workers, and he was between this deal and a $1 million property in Oakland that he was working on, and he put my property on the back burner, even though we were partners on it, and put us behind 3 months on the property. And I'm still in litigation with this guy trying to get him off the title of the property. And so when you get a good contractor, stick with them. Don't just run with the first deal you get or the first person that comes with the cheapest thing, because it's not always gold. It may look like it, but it might not be.
Got it. Thanks. Great advice, Miguel. And Janet, I think for your situation, I think the numbers might work out more in your favor, given that you have the kind of connections to do a lot of that in-house. So definitely wish you a lot of success on that. And hopefully you can lean on this group if you have any questions when you go and do that first deal. I do want to make sure that we're switching gears to the third topic that several of you actually contributed during registration. I know Julio, Derek, Miguel, and Madhu all had questions about San Joaquin County, investing in Stockton, the real estate market, and just the overall economy. So Madhu, we definitely heard kind of your thoughts about, or kind of what you want to get out of this conversation. Miguel and Julio, I'd love to hear kind of what specific questions around this topic you wanted to bring up to the group and kind of discuss openly with the group.
Well, I'm new to the Stockton market, so I don't really know where to buy, what's gonna rent good. Because when I go, I browse Realtor and Redfin a lot. Like that's where my big kind of getting a feel for the market. And a lot of the properties are kind of on the south side and close to the 5, in the multifamily specifically. So I just kind of wanted to get a feel from you guys who have some experience. Like, are those good areas? You know, like that's my question. Like where to buy, where not to buy, where to stay away from, where, you know, things like that. Because I do understand people need to live somewhere, but it's also, I'm not going to pay top dollar for a low rental area. That's kind of my thing on stock.
Got it. Thanks, Julio. Miguel, do you want to share more about what you were hoping to get out of this topic?
Yeah, I'm more looking for, you know, people that are looking to network, and I'm actually interested in what Derek is doing out there in Indianapolis and the syndications and all of that stuff, because I mean, I'm looking at things that what Grant Cardone is doing and things of that nature, and I see that, you know, this getting involved in the investing thing with bigger properties, bigger multifamilies, bigger units, more investors is a good way that I'm looking into. So that's on that side. But in Stockton, I'm looking for more, you know, to network with more people that are looking to invest in bigger units, because of course the property values are so high out here. And of course, you know, it's harder to generate cash flow when you're spending so much for property, and the renter, you know, are very stymied out in California, and a lot of places have rent controls. And then even with this COVID stuff, they have all these COVID moratoriums on rent and things of that nature. So it seems like it's a little bit more of a dangerous investment, but I would like to invest more in some buy and holds in my backyard since I live here. And then we're just talking what Julio says, me learning Stockton at first, when I first moved out here, it was very weird, because you could be in one good neighborhood and then turn 2 blocks and you're in a bad neighborhood. And it's like, I'm not used to that. In Oakland, it was very clear where the good neighborhoods are and the bad neighborhoods are, but in Stockton, it's not. So it is very I would say risky investing in Stockton in rentals and things of that nature. So
Great. So it sounds like from this conversation, Julio's topic more about kind of specific neighborhoods and air pockets of Stockton, and then Miguel, Derek, and Madhu kind of about out-of-state investing and talking more about that. I do want to, I'd love to give my contribution to Julio's question about kind of safer or kind of better areas and where I'm looking, and then love to transition more about the questions Miguel and Madhu have, and especially picking Derek's brain on that. But in terms of my own investments, it is really tough to find good areas here. I think Giangelo mentioned some of the good areas that are in Stockton, but for myself, kind of similar to Giangelo, Victory Park area, Country Club area. More specifically, I focus on the area surrounding the University of the Pacific, which I think you're actually going to see a lot of inventory pop up because there's no students required to come on campus this year. So you're going to see a lot of people who actually rent out their homes to UOP students, potentially listing those homes on the market because they can't find the population that provides such a high premium rent for the space directly surrounding the University of the Pacific. In addition to that, I was born and raised off of I-5 and 8th Street. And I know it gets a bad reputation, but it's actually a much safer area where you have homeowners who are the first owner and have been in their homes for 30, 40 years. So they definitely take care of their properties. So definitely on the west side of Stockton, southwest side of Stockton. I typically try to avoid the Western Ranch area or anything north of Hammer Lane or anything on the east side, on east of El Dorado. Those are kind of rougher areas where it's really going to be really difficult to cash flow, although the prices are more attractive. I am starting to notice that people who are applying for rental homes here, the credit scores are just really poor here. So if that's one of the criteria that you want to put for renting out a home, you're going to see quite a few scores under 550, under 500 within the Stockton area. So you definitely want to be in those Class A properties if you're looking for buy and hold. I have a home that I'm just finished listing for rent, and it took the longest time to actually rent it out because they couldn't meet the credit score criteria. So I think you're going to see a lot more of the migration of those people who kind of live, who make lower income. As you're seeing more people of higher income transition to Stockton, you're also seeing a large proportion of people with lower income transitioning to Stockton. Those people that got pushed out from Vallejo, pushed out from Pittsburgh, pushed out from Fremont, Oakland, coming here. So I know they were talking a lot about people who are coming from the Bay Area, the corporate world, who make a lot of money, who are coming to Stockton, but you're also seeing those lower income people coming to Stockton as well. And you got to put in that into perspective of what's the type of people, what are the type of people who apply for rentals? And that's going to be people who kind of have it difficult to manage money in that sense. So I definitely want to give that contribution. If anybody else wants to kind of chime in here, would love to get a second opinion. So in addition to that, so Gerald, I'd love to hear your contribution. And then after Gerald, would love to get into the conversation about out of state.
Yeah, so I've been following up with the upcoming projects here in Stockton, like the Open Window Project in downtown. I don't know if you've heard of that, Willie. And the talks with the potentially a UC Stockton, or have you heard of that? Some about that?
Yeah, so I'm actually a part of a few committees here in the Stockton community. I'm really involved with the Little Manila Foundation, which is down in the downtown area. I'm on the Clean Air Resource Board that focuses on Southwest Stockton and trying to improve the air quality. And then I'm pretty in tune with a lot of the regional developments. So one of the things that you're talking about is a potential CSU campus in Stockton. And then there's also the Department of Veteran Affairs is building a new hospital directly across from San Joaquin County General Hospital. I think a lot of those projects, though, I think they're going to be in question, given that government funding is going to be pretty tight, given they're giving out so much in grants and financial assistance right now. There's always been talks for the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years about a CSU Stockton. But given that we have the satellite campus of CSU Stanislaus and Delta College and University of the Pacific, it's kind of hard to vouch for that university, another university in Stockton.
That's right. Yeah.
Cool. So definitely want to make sure we have enough time to talk out of state. Miguel, I know you kind of mentioned that, and Madhu, I know you want to look more into that as well. I was kind of curious, obviously, Derek, you have a lot more experience as it relates to out of state. So Miguel, I was kind of curious, like or Madhu also, what kind of questions more specifically you're interested in learning about out of state?
I would just like to get with Derek and see what he has going on out of state. You know, I'm interested in the multifamilies and the bigger units. You know, that's definitely where my next phase of out of state is. I'm actually looking at, because the market in Chattanooga is crazy right now. So I'm looking at selling one of my properties so I can sell that and just cash out and buy 2 multifamily units out there. But I know, you know, Chattanooga is just one of the areas that's booming in the real estate market. There's a bunch of out-of-state places that you can buy low, rent high. You know, so I'm more interested in that and just getting more information.
Yeah, so I can speak to that a little bit if you guys don't mind. So if what you're trying to do right now is select a market, there's a lot of things to look at, obviously, right? Like you gotta look at what the rent to price ratio is for homes and single families, and also for multifamilies. Depends on what you're looking for. If you want to go into multifamily, then the valuation is completely different. You have to start looking at different types of properties, and you have to think about different things. But just for the sake of argument, if we're going to be sticking with the single family homes, most likely you're going to want to look for properties in areas where the rent to price ratio is favorable for you, but also that it's in an economy where there's a lot of different jobs. There's all kinds of different jobs, and there's a big like growth outlook, because when we're going to be buying in places out of state, it's going to be in places where we were going to be there for the long haul. We got to have, because if you go in there and you try to do a buy and hold for only a year or two, and you only do it with 1 or 2 properties, it's probably going to be pretty risky to do that. It makes more sense to buy a larger portfolio, because then it kind of acts like a multifamily in the sense that if one of your properties goes vacant, then you have income coming in from the other 2 to help pay your mortgages and pay for AC breaks and things like that, right? So I think in a way, like, it helps you diversify yourself by spreading out your risk across 3 or 4 different properties instead of having one here in California. But yeah, in terms of finding a market, there's a lot of ways to look at it. Some of the pros look at population growth and then diversification of the jobs. You can find that all on the Bureau of Labor Statistics. You just go to bls.gov, I think. And once you type that in, you just type in the metro area that you're looking for, and they'll give you all that information, like how well diversified the job market is there. And then they can give you more information about population trends. Because, I mean, you don't want to go into an out-of-state market where population is declining. That's not good for housing. So, but in the end, I think you start your search for which market is giving you the best cap rate or what you're looking for, because there's cap rate and then there's appreciation. You have cash flow and appreciation. Obviously, in the West Coast, like, there's no cash flow, it's all appreciation. So as long as you buy right, you can do very, very well for yourself. But that's the key, is like, how do you know when to buy? So my strategy is to find properties in cash flowing markets so that you can time your exit and entry whenever you can, because you can always buy or sell. So
Awesome. Madhu, I saw that you came off of mute earlier. Is there a question that you had in mind that you wanted to bring to the group?
I think Derek addressed a little bit about my question is, because if you go out of state, the whole country is a play out right now, right? How do you pick what is good for you, like what is the criteria? I think Derek addressed a little bit about that, go to these picks, like where the employment opportunities are there, with the population growth and other considerations. So, in that sense, I see that Huntsville seems to be one of the area, but the market is, I haven't bought anything, but what I found is in anticipation of this job growth, and a lot of jobs are really coming, automobile and government jobs. FBI headquarters are there, not headquarters, they're building some huge training facility there, and Toyota and Mazda, all these automobile companies are opening up new factories there. So I think what I found is the price is already factored in all these new employment opportunities, and it is getting tighter. So I think, it's always good if you are going out of state for the cash flow. What I found is if you need to enter into the market before everybody can come in, then, you can see some appreciation, or you can get some good value add deals and good deals actually. What I'm finding is this market is getting so tight in Huntsville. So if you have any ideas like where you guys are exploring any other markets, I would like to hear.
Yeah, so all in the multifamily market, and I guess in general, a lot of my mentors or both of them are going, like, they really like the Sun Belt states and the Midwest. It just depends on what type of play you're going for. Some of them are still looking in Phoenix right now, but like it's so hot there, literally and figuratively. But it really, like, I think like Texas is huge. Obviously, Florida is huge. We already know all that. You guys have probably seen it before. But people are moving to those states because of the weather, and also because of the tax advantages. There's no state income tax there. And there's just big communities of retirees that they're going to those areas. And we all know that the baby boomers are starting to very much rise in demand. And so supply is trying to meet that demand. So those are the states that those people are moving to. I still like the Midwest. So like I'm looking at Louisville, Indianapolis, Kansas City is always good, but it's really hot there. Like the hot markets, everything is real overpriced there. And I'm looking in San Antonio. I really like San Antonio. So those are the markets that I'm looking at, just because I'm following behind the people that know what they're doing, and they've been there before, and they've been in other markets as well. So I guess generally, you guys, like, the way I got started with Indy was one of my mentors was investing there. And I just, for no other reason, I went into that market just because I knew I could rely on him for help if I needed it, and also for some feedback. Because let's be honest, you guys, like, we can all succeed in any out-of-state market with the right team. There's always a way to do that. So it kind of boils down to who you have working for you. You can tweak the numbers in your favor slightly by picking the right market or picking one market over the other. But yeah, I would also consider too, if you guys have any family in any of these out-of-state markets in the Midwest or in the South, that might be one way to go too, because then you can visit that market pretty easily, and you can enjoy, their company, and you can write off the whole trip, and you can have them drive around, and you can kind of teach them how to help you, and even give them a slice of the profit or something. So.
Yeah, it's super interesting, Derek, that you said that you got started in Indy because of mentors and the contacts that you had, because Derek's the reason I got started in Indy. He had a network of wholesalers as well as property managers that really made it a lot easier for me and my brother-in-law to both invest. So we didn't have to do the legwork to vet different property managers, because Derek had already done all of that for us. So we kind of just took some of those good contacts and good referrals and kind of went with it. And personally for me, I own one single family home out in Indianapolis. To your point, Madhu, it's actually in an area that's right next to a project that is going to be bringing jobs to the area. So I've seen appreciation of about 20-30% of the home. At the same time, I was able to buy it all cash, so the cash flow and the cap rates make sense from that perspective as well.
Good job, man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Taking action.
Congrats on property value already went up 20-30%. That's very good.
Thanks, man.
And yeah.
I'd like to recommend Chattanooga for anybody out there too looking. It's a very great area. They have a bunch of Fortune 500 companies there. Volkswagen has a manufacturing plant there. I think they make the Jetta there. Coca-Cola, Mars M&Ms, Amazon, FedEx. I mean, you name it, they have it. They're building a new stadium out there by the airport, Top Golf thing, a whole nice little area. And actually, there was an article on Bigger Pockets that just came out, and it was ranked in the top 50 places to invest in the U.S. With a 64% increase in rents out there. And I've definitely seen that. My last property I purchased for $83,000. I'm renting it out right now for $1,250 a month. So, and I have another property in Cleveland, which is right outside of Chattanooga, maybe 10 minutes. You know, it's like going from Oakland to Hayward or something. That property, I bought it 2 years ago for $90,000. I paid cash for it, and now it's worth over $150 in just 2 years. So there's a lot of appreciation in the area, and the rents are very healthy. So if anybody's interested, let me know. I'm always looking for partners. And I flew out there on a whim, actually hit up a couple people in Bigger Pockets, found some people to connect with, went out there, met a couple realtors, interviewed, met a couple contractors, property managers, and didn't look back.
Miguel, which area is that? Sorry, I missed that part in the beginning. Which areas? You talked about Chattanooga and other things.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. Cleveland, Tennessee. Chattanooga and Cleveland, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super interesting that you brought that up about more factories and warehouse distribution centers in Chattanooga. I actually work full-time as well. I work in the e-commerce industry. Our company actually just announced a new factory to be built in the Georgia area. The main reason for that is the actual Trump tariffs that have been imposed on products made in China and overseas have actually forced a lot of manufacturers to come to the US, given that it would be cheaper to just produce in US rather than be subject to the large taxes that you would get if you ship your product out of China or Vietnam and whatnot. So you might start seeing that. I think my work experience is one example of a factory that's coming from overseas, and they typically are looking for the southwest of the US, given the tax advantages for setting up factories. So I think Miguel is spot on in terms of production, and I'm seeing that firsthand in terms of production facility and bringing jobs to the US in that perspective.
Hey, Willie, do you mind if I ask what kind of manufacturing it is?
Yeah, so I work for Zinus, Z-I-N-U-S. It's a mattress manufacturing company. So kind of similar to Purple, Tuft and Needle, Casper, those kind of companies definitely are starting to ramp up in US production.
Yeah, that's a good news. Yeah.
Cool. We are at 8 o'clock here. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We did slate this to go 7 to 8. If there's anybody that you'd love to hear more from, feel free to shoot me an email and let me know, and I can put you in contact with one another to continue the conversation. I think this was a great conversation. I appreciate all of you for coming, taking an hour of your time. Just to let you know what's coming up next, my goal is to get on every kind of a webinar or a mastermind every 2 weeks. So like I mentioned to Julio prior to starting this call, I'm working with getting Stockton Mortgage, which is a hard money lender, to present in the next webinar that we have in 2 weeks. So be on the lookout for that. Derek was kind enough to present, be one of the first presenters 2 weeks ago. We're definitely going to tap into the network and try to see who we can come to present and be on the webinars to bring more value. But every other meeting will definitely be one of these masterminds where we get to talk with one another and kind of share ideas. I do want to make sure there are any last minute questions before we sign off. Anybody have anything they want to bring up before we end for today?
Yeah, is that at the Stockton Mortgage House?
The company is called Stockton Mortgage.
Okay, is that with like Fred Womack?
It's a hard money lender local to the Stockton area. Yeah. And then Madhu, you had a question?
Yeah. Do you have any plans of creating any Google groups or something so we can chat, Slack channel or something so we can talk, like everybody can?
No, yeah, that's a great idea. I'll definitely work on that and keep you all posted on the progress of that.
Okay, great.
Cool. Well, thank you all for joining. I appreciate you taking the time to come in. For the second timers, thanks for coming back. And for the newcomers, hopefully come again. But if you have any questions, shoot me an email. But thank you all for joining today's Mastermind.
Okay, thank you, Willie. Thanks, everyone. Good to see you all.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye.